So the index currently has 5 pages worth of things. So that's 401, or 402 if you have the spawner, that being the frost spawner, of course. But out of all of these enemies here, you can probably name, I don't know, like, I don't know, 20%, 30%, maybe 60% if you're really into the game. Do bear in mind there are a lot of duplicates, so for example the enemies from the recent reworks from the special game modes have been duplicated, one for a modern variant, one for a legacy variant. This is because for some reason these two enemies, they keep 2 stats, which is really weird, but we'll run with it. However, if I were to ask you what is the most forgettable enemy in Tower Defense Simulator history, well, that's the point of the question. You wouldn't actually be able to answer it because most people would forget the most forgettable enemy in Tower Defense Simulator history. Now, I don't know if there are any quizzes out there that lists all of the enemies that have ever appeared in Tower Defense Simulator, but I am willing to bet that there is one enemy that will come out like near the bottom, if not at the bottom. Oh, actually, there is a quiz. All Tower Defense Simulator, all enemies, but that's 2021. So start quiz. Let's see. Okay, it does have Necromancer 2. Right, let's see. What's at the real bottom here? So, Explosive Ducky at the bottom. Witch Doctor. Fine, okay. Witch Doctor was a really rare enemy. Tombstone, okay. Cart, Swarm, Flare, Egg Roll, Boomer 1, okay. Now, I am surprised. The enemy that I wanted to talk about here isn't actually here. Maybe I should have done this video on the Witch Doctor. That could be another video. The Blighted is here. Where is it? Okay, hold on. I probably named it in the title, but it's the Rusted. Where is Rusted? Right, okay, there it is. Where is it here? 17%. So, it's in the bottom pile, but even the Imposter is less well known than the Rusted. What? Okay, so we've got a more modern quiz. Oh, it's February 27, 2025. They've actually updated this. Okay, let's see. What is the bottom here? Oh, no one's actually attempted it. Okay, fair fucks. Okay, every single Tower Defense Simulator enemy ever. Give up. Let's see. What is bottom of this pile? Oh, God. People, you need to do these quizzes. People get an armored break. Okay, so people are doing like the basic stuff and then giving up. Okay, I see. But no, based on this quiz alone, which I don't know how accurate it's going to be, the Witch Doctor, Explosive Ducky is the most least well known, which I can't believe that for whatever reason. And the enemy that I did want to talk about is the Rusted, is 17. So more people know the Rusted than the Witch Doctor. But you know what? Let's do that. And let's run with that. So, the Rusted, in my opinion, is the most forgettable enemy. It might not be the most well unknown, but it is the most forgettable enemy, in my opinion. For example, can you tell me what wave does the Rusted spawn in at? The answer is 56, yes, because this was in a time when the game modes in the game have more than 40 waves as they currently do now, or even 50 waves in hardcore mode. So this is what the Rusted enemy looks like. It is corroded. It has a black torso with some spiky thing coming out of its abdomen region. It has rusted arms and face. This is the most forgettable enemy. If I were to tell you to describe the Rusted, you probably get, I don't know, corroded metal, but you wouldn't be able to say, ah yes, black torso and something coming out of his abdomen. So while this was not a boss, it had more health than Chained, which was considered a boss at the time. Oh, it also appeared later than the Golden enemy did at the time. So they debuted on Wave 56, which was just 3 Rusted enemies, and then Wave 57, which is 4 Rusted enemies. Let's be real, going from, say, 12 Chains, 2 Gravekeepers, 4 Witch Doctors, and 2 Carriers, going immediately to Rusted. Didn't make any sense whatsoever, because the Rusted enemies were quite easy to deal with. 3,000 health, right, compared to the Gravekeeper at the time, which had 15,000 health. What were the developers thinking? I have no idea. Yeah, sure, the Rusted were faster. They had an average speed compared to the very slow speed of the Gravekeeper. But let's not forget, the Rusted has 0 immunity to anything. Meanwhile, the Goldens did have immunity, and they appeared 2 waves afterwards, and the Rusted appeared alongside them. Now, the reason why I'm surprised that the Rusted had a lot of people guessing it in that quiz is because the Rusted itself only appeared 4 times in 4 waves. Well, it appeared more than that, so it appeared 13 times in overall in pre-mega waves, and it only appeared because of the way that game modes worked at the time. It only appeared in Golden and Insane mode, but the fact that it only appears in 4 waves, one of them being the last wave, for what it randomly appears on the last wave, even though that wave, everything after 61 is like frozen stuff, and it just randomly appears on 68. I have no idea. And then you get 3 Rusted on 56, 4 Rusted on 57, and then 3 Rusted on 58. Back in the day, the Golden had 1,000 health, while the Rusted had 3,000 health. So yeah, the Rusted was more powerful while debuting earlier, but let's not forget, in the time, golden enemies have explosion immunity, while rusted has like literally nothing. As the strategy suggests for the rusted, it does not spawn in large hordes, so high DPS towers can be easily used to defeat this enemy. Due to rusted spawning very infrequently, they're not much of a threat. Unlike goldens, the rusted is not immune to explosions. And that's why I think the rusted is the most forgettable enemy. Plus the fact that it was added pretty late when it comes to beta stuff on the 15th of August, which was the last beta update, because after this update, there was a lull in the updates. There was no major updates in September. There were like a couple of sales, but after this, no new enemies were added. Bearing in mind, at the same time that the rusted was added, you got 24 carrots, which were in the game after the mega update, the frozen, deep freeze, and frost hero, which would all return in the Village of Despair map for Christmas 2019, and the lava, it was forgettable because of the fact that it was added to the game's code, but it can only be spawned in through commands. But out of all of these enemies, the rusted would be the only enemy added quite recently to be removed in the mega update, so it had a lifespan of less than 2 months, basically. 2 months for a technically evergreen enemy is pretty short, in my opinion. Like, I can't think I can name any other enemy that was an evergreen enemy that lasted for much shorter. I mean, technically the Frozen, Deep Freeze, and Frost Hero were not evergreen, apart from the Frost Hero, which would return in the Hidden Wave. But the Frozen and Deep Freeze would have returned anyways, as a form of event enemy, so I wouldn't say that they count. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because I was going back in time, reworking some of the titles and the thumbnails for some of my classic Tower Defense Simulator videos from 2019, and one of those videos actually turns out to be the Wave 68 update, aka the update which added the rusted, which is how I sort of thought about making a video on the most forgotten enemy in Tower Defense Simulator. So this video starts off on Wave 56, because I couldn't be bothered to rework all the other game waves included here, but there are only 3 rusteds here, and they aren't much of a threat, I'll be totally honest with you. So look, that's it. Three rusted and then 4 rusted. They don't get too far. You can see how far like these enemies here, the units, where they stop. They don't get past them at all. In fact, you can see them dying here. They are useless. Why do they exist? I have no idea. And they finally appear on Wave 66, kind of out of place given the fact that all the other enemies here have blue textures, and then the rusted has what, brown? How does that fit at all? That was the last change to the pre-mega waves, extending up to 68, then get up to 69. And it just seemed really odd that the rusted was added way after, say, the golden was added in the 2nd of August 2019. I won't say way after. The 2nd of August compared to the 15th of August. Yeah, that's basically, what, 2 weeks? But in the pre-mega update, 2 weeks to add new enemies was pretty long. Now, despite the fact that this enemy is perhaps what I consider to be the most forgettable enemy in the game, it is the case where actually it appears in a map, on a current map actually. Right, so you need to go here, you need to then go to Gilded Path, which is the map that also has the golden enemies, which is really odd, but that the rusted would appear here. But yeah, I've leaked the fact that the rusted also appears here. But it is like in the shadows, so as you can go around here, you can see something that looks like the rusted here, a corroded enemy of sorts with like similar colours, and the fact that it appears alongside golden enemies, which were another removed enemy, in fact they are kind of technically removed, does sort of imply that this is a rusted enemy, and given the fact that in pre-mega or the beta updates, it appeared alongside the golden mode, it appeared 2 ways debuting before golden enemies, it's safe to assume that this enemy here is a reference to rusted enemies. Rusted enemies being there's only one ever rusted enemy. I mean, there were more, like the chained was, I guess the chained right now is like considered to be a reworked enemy of it. But you know what's even a closer rework of it? Legacy, where is it? H, here, the Hefty. See, this Hefty here, you may consider this to be the reincarnation of the the rusted enemy, which, I mean, to be fair, it has a black torso and it has red arms, so you know what, I kind of hear it. I'm up to hear the debate that this is the modern day incarnation of the rusted enemy. Modern day being not a technical term because it appears as a legacy enemy, not a modern enemy, so once hardcore mode is reworked, this will likely go. Also, despite the fact that there's maps with enemies beta, the Hefty isn't actually changed, which I guess fair enough. Pretty sure there were other enemies that did change in hardcore mode with enemies beta, but the Hefty is not one of them, so pretty cool. Now, obviously, this goes without saying, the rusted enemy never going to return to Tower Defense Simulator. If it were to be returned, it would be like a coincidence, maybe in an event, or a hardcore mode rework, as like, I don't know, paying homage to Legacy Tower Defense Simulator, I don't know. But yeah, I'm just surprised that most people, or some people, 17% of people can get the rusted, which is more than the Witch Doctor, more than the Imposter even, more than the Explosive Ducky. Why is Explosive Ducky the least well-known enemy in the game? I don't know. But personally, I think it's the Rusted. Unless it's because the Gilded Path map actually references the Rusted enemy. Before this, you would be hard-pressed to find anyone who even knows what the Rusted was before Gilded Path was added with the Rusted Easter egg.